So welcome everyone for tonight's webinar. We're extremely excited because Greg is going to show us the Exagon sense. And Greg has an advantage because he's been using the unit all this time. I don't have one yet, but I will soon, I hope, because it is just, what do you call it? The sixth
Six dimensions
of health, right? And there is no other PEMF system like it out there in the entire world. And for this reason, I just like to share with you, for those of you who weren't on the last webinar, we are also going to present to you a PEMF expert certification course consisting of 10 modules, and you can access it online, and we will send you out the link once it's done. And then you go through the 10 modules, and I think Greg and we discussed that for each module, we will have a webinar or like a group where we all discuss what we learned. And it is our intention, now that we're all on lockdown or shelter in place or whatever you call it, to help you become a PEMF expert and distinguish yourself in this industry, you know, as one of the people who really know what they're talking about. And I think with the PEMF industry growing at an astronomical rate, and you know, especially, you know, through this time that we're going through, the COVID pandemic, I mean, it affects everybody, and health and wellness on the cell level and on 6 dimensions will be more important than ever before. And everything will go towards energy, medicine, and frequencies, right? And we would like you to be an expert so you know what you're talking about and you're confident and you get the education and the knowledge that you deserve so you can intelligently talk about it and be a professional in the industry, and also have the confidence of knowing all the benefits of PEMF, of the Exagon sense, brain entrainment, far infrared sauna, cubios, and all of that PEMF has to offer. And so you can sell these devices and help other people to experience the benefits that you have already. So, I mean, that's what it's all about. No, it's not about sell, but you know, all your knowledge isn't good to anyone unless you can share it with somebody and help them purchase a system and then experience the same health benefits. So again, welcome and thank you for being with us. And we're having these webinars every Saturday at 7 p.m. And if in the meantime, any one of you needs to get in touch with Greg or myself, please reach out. You know, we have the time now to look after you, so take advantage of it. And also if you have a group, you know, where, like, let's say you've got 2 or 3 people, or let's say you have a larger group and you want to have a Zoom meeting or a Skype meeting, I've done them, and I'm happy to help you explain things to your people and help you with a sale or building a relationship and so on. And also, before I forget, I also would like to make you aware that right now, when everybody is at home, is the best time ever to contact people by phone. So I was thinking, you know, once we have the IMAS Prime, we're going to do a webinar on how to approach all the healthcare professionals who either are right now, their businesses aren't open, and if some of the restrictions will be removed, then their business will only ever be at 50% capacity, if that. So imagine you're a massage therapist, you're a chiropractor, you're an acupuncturist, even a dentist, even a doctor of natural medicine. People aren't going anywhere. But the new IMRS Prime is so ideal for healthcare professionals, not only to use it on their patients, but also to sell it and generate another income, right? Because I think the economic constraints because of the pandemic, no matter what you think about it, is not going to go away anytime soon. And do you not think that a healthcare practitioner out there would like to know what's going on in the PEMF industry and how they can generate a secondary income, right? Okay, Greg, I'm turning it over to you, and I'm very, very excited what you are going to present us with tonight.
Excellent. I was going to say, I was just reading an article about that very same subject, and they had said that even doctors' salaries are getting cut by 10% to 30%, and a lot of healthcare workers are going on furlough. So it is a good time to let people know that they can still do health and wellness with individuals and still deal with quarantine and the virus as well. But like you said, I'm very excited to present this because biofeedback is something that I'm very passionate about. I love frequencies, oscillations, and vibrations. And we put this together because the new Exagon Sense is registered and regulated as a Class 2 biofeedback device. So anyone who is a biofeedback specialist, that is great news because they can utilize it in a practice, and it is one of the registrations and regulations that the society does require for acceptable biofeedback devices. The first topic I would like to review here is the heart oscillations. And heart oscillations, heart rhythms, and the heart rate are really all the same thing in a sense. Heart rate is the number of heartbeats per minute and is controlled by the balancing action of the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous branches of the autonomic nervous system. So heart rate variability is the fluctuation in the time intervals between adjacent heartbeats. So in the graph on the right, the heart rate variability is the 0.85 seconds because it is the interval between the heartbeat. So the second heart rate variable would be 0.793 seconds. Heart rate variability is concerned with analyzing the intervals between heartbeats, which are called interbeat intervals, or IBIs. RR intervals is the time measured in between heartbeats measured in milliseconds. And in a healthy human heart, there is a dynamic relationship between the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous systems. For example, the parasympathetic nervous system predominates at rest, resulting in an average heart rate or about 75 beats per minute. Heart oscillations and heart frequencies. What we're looking here at the picture is a QRS complex, and it is the distinct frequencies which make up your heartbeat. So as you can see that as the electrical current travels through the heart, it creates different frequencies, different waveforms. And the heart rate variability is a complex pattern of oscillations or vibrations or frequencies. Other examples is your heart rate, blood pressure, body temperature, energy level, mood, and circadian rhythms. These are all patterns of oscillations. Healthy biological systems exhibit complex patterns of variability that can be described by mathematical chaos. The oscillation source of the heart rate variability signal is the time between the R wave or the QRS complex. So you could see down here in the little chart, it shows you where the R wave is. So what they're measuring is the time in between the R waves. Heart rate variability is basically conducting an autonomic nervous system analysis through the portal of the heart. Heart rate variability indexes neurocardiac function and is generated by heart-brain interactions and dynamic nonlinear autonomic nervous system processes. The variability of a nonlinear system, which is the body, provides the flexibility to rapidly cope with an uncertain and changing environment. The ease at which an individual can transition between high and low arousal states is dependent on the ability of the autonomic nervous system to rapidly vary your heartbeat. Autonomic nervous system controls essential body functions like your digestion, urination, breathing, pupillary response, as well as sexual arousal. More heart rate variability implies more parasympathetic nervous system activity, or sometimes called vagal tone, and better recovery or functional homeostatic capabilities. And the more homeostatic capability implies better overall health and wellness. So that's why we say there should be more variability, or your heart rate variability should be moving or on the eye more, which we always said you should see a cityscape and not such a country landscape. And that is all because it is giving an indication of the homeostatic capabilities of your autonomic nervous system functioning. And the better, more variability you see is an indicator which implies better overall health and wellness. So that's how we can utilize this for the non-medical professionals. So your heart rate variability reflects regulation of autonomic balance, blood pressure, gas exchange, your gut, heart, vascular tone, which is the diameter of the blood vessels that regulate your blood pressure, and possibly your facial muscles. They've been linking your facial muscles to your autonomic nervous system because your emotions do show through your face, and that is all regulated through the autonomic nervous system. Heart rate variability can be considered a tool that reflects heart activity and overall autonomic health, rather than a diseased state or specific mental illness. So I'm going to repeat this because it's very pertinent. Heart rate variability can be considered a tool that reflects heart activity and overall autonomic health, rather than a specific diseased state or specific mental illness, like a biomarker or a baseline which we can use to evaluate your general health and wellness. Now, there are areas where you can extrapolate information and apply it to a diseased state or a mental illness, but you really have to be a seasoned biofeedback specialist in order to really hone in on that and be able to provide relevant information from what you're looking at. So high heart rate variability in general means that the body has the resilience to tolerate and handle stress and or quick and efficiently recover from stressful situations. We all know how stress destroys the body. It's like boiling acid within inside of your body. So the better you have, the more variability in your heart rate variability is the better that you can bounce back from that and you don't hold on to things. Low heart rate variability conveys a monotonously regular heart rate and is associated with impaired regulatory and homeostatic autonomic nervous system functioning, basically an indicator of the beginning of loss of function, which reduces the body's ability to cope with internal and external stressors. So here I would like to introduce the IMRS Prime with the Exagon Sense. And with the Exagon Sense, we are now able to evaluate and measure the messages or the frequencies our body is signaling in response to our lifestyle. Everything around our bodies is information, and our body's response to things such as food, exercise, thoughts affect how the autonomic nervous system responds. And it does so by either stimulating or inhibiting bodily functions. So the Exagon Sense has a refined and very accurate algorithms, and the dynamic adjustment of the applied magnetic field intensity, meaning that it moves the intensity, is done every 60 to 90 beats. So basically the system needs to extrapolate 60 to 90 beats in order to utilize the heart rate variability information and be able to modulate the intensity level for that specific session. We also have the ability to extract the data export and put it into Kubios. And we'll get into that more in a little bit in our next slides. Now, we're detecting the heart rate variability from what is called a photoplethysmography. Photoplethysmography. I still have trouble saying it, so I always just call it PPG. So here is basically a little diagram of what it is doing. It's sending a light into your finger, and that is what it's using to extrapolate the information. So a PPG is a simple optical technique used to detect volumetric changes in blood in the peripheral circulation. PPG makes use of low intensity infrared light. The changes in the blood flow can be detected by the PPG sensor as changes in the intensity of the light. So this is what you're seeing in the picture here on the left-hand side. And this technique can provide us valuable information which relates to your cardiovascular system. And the information that we're looking at is your heart rate variability, as well as your blood oxygenation saturation levels within the tissue, or your SpO2. Here we have the Exagon series highlighting the SpO2. And what we see here is what you're able to get there, and very easy to understand SpO2. Basically, you want a reading between 95 and 100%. And you're gonna get a reading throughout your session. So this is a quick chart I got from the heart page, and it gives you an understanding of the blood oxygenation levels. So peripheral capillary oxygen saturation is an estimate of the amount of oxygen in the blood. More specifically, it is the percentage of oxygenated hemoglobin compared to the total amount of hemoglobin in the blood. So a typical SpO2 reading should be between 95 and 100. And the Exagon Sense with its PPG sensor is capable of indicating your SpO2 levels. And this is the Kubios. So with Kubios online, they provide a free standard software to everyone. You would just send them your information, fill out a form, and they send you an activation code, and then you would be able to download the software, which analyzes the data that comes from the Exagon Sense. And what you'll be getting here on the right-hand side is your HRV analysis results. Of course, we're going to have several webinars where we go over that information in more detail, and hopefully individuals like Donna Woodworth will help us participate in that, who is a biofeedback specialist in Orange County, California. So this is the information which you'll be able to retain from the data that is extracted from the Exagon Sense and downloaded into the Kubios heart rate variability software and generate one of these reports over here. The main focus for all of those who don't want to get too involved in biofeedback is the simple graph which shows a quick view about the levels of the subject's heart rate variability with respect to normal resting values. So of course, we're all lying on the whole body mat because that is the applicator utilized with the Exagon Sense. So we are utilizing resting values. We're not exercising or active. We're extracting our resting biometric values. And so this graph compares heart rate variability parameters of selected analysis segments against normal resting values. So you're doing a nonlinear comparison, and you're really just comparing yourself to normal resting values. These graphs give the quick view, and you can really take a look at how you stand up to typically 95% of the population. So the parasympathetic tone utilizes your mean RR, your RMSSD, which we'll get into all of this, and your SD1 percentage to come up with the PNS, your parasympathetic system tone index score. And these charts are really easy to read as well. Normal is right in the middle of average, and depending on how you deviate, you're either below average or higher than average. But it gives you a really good indication. The other great thing about Kubios is when you look back here on the graph, up on the top, you see the blue box that goes across where it shows your heart rhythms. You can actually segment that box into different areas. So you can really say, okay, what was my HRV in the first 2 minutes of my session? And what is it in the last 2? And compare how your body changed from the beginning to the end. Or you can actually do various biofeedback training, deep breathing, heart math is an excellent one, and you can actually begin to control your autonomic nervous system. Breathing, your autonomic nervous system is an involuntary system, and the only way to access it is through breathing. Your breathing, you can help regulate and control your autonomic nervous system. And utilizing these analysis is really good in order to do that. You can see a body begin to de-stress while it was on the system by segmenting different areas, or you can just look at them over like a 2-week period, and you can see how your parasympathetic index and your sympathetic index had changed or began to be more of a homeostatic balance. So with this, the next thing I wanted to do was switch this over here to the camera, and I'm going to show you exactly how you would program it into the control unit. And I'm going to unmute Allie here, so if she has any points that she would like to add as well. Okay. So let me stop the screen and switch it over.
It's very fascinating, Greg.
Move it to the camera. It really is when you really see what you're actually capable of doing, utilizing the heart rate variability.
And so much to learn. Okay. Not just for me, but for everybody, because it's new.
So it doesn't.
Right? But don't get intimidated by it. You know, it takes a little bit education and information, and we're going to cover quite a bit of it in the course as well. And the course is free. The PEMF certification expert course is free for you. And we're going to have as many webinars and courses until you guys get it. How's that? Sound good?
And we're going to invite specialists and different guest speakers because, like I said, biofeedback is something that you definitely learn through experience. It's not something that you can just pick up in an afternoon. You can get the foundations and you can get the educational aspect, but to be able to really read a report and understand how this is affecting your emotions, how your emotions are playing into your heart rate variability, how you can, there's actually many different modalities which they utilize a biofeedback specialist for, and they're all doing them through telemedicine now due to the coronavirus. They do pelvic muscle stimulation, incontinence. They're also taking a look at different mood, anxiety, and stress. So there's also areas with diabetes and the prostate, as well as different other areas. And when we get into more detail, we'll go over all the different medical applications as well. But like I said, the fact that it is regulated with the FDA as a Class 2 biofeedback device allows the biofeedback specialists to actually use this in their practice.
Yeah, and what greater time than right now for all of us to learn this from Greg. I mean, I don't know as much as Greg does. I was with you once in where was it, in Orlando?
Yes, that's where we
Yeah,
got our first certification.
yeah, and half of the stuff I've forgotten, believe it or not.
But the best thing about the Cubios is you can just look at that little bar chart, which tells you, you know, they all should be lined up in the middle. And if they're not, they're either below your normal averages or above your normal averages. Or you can go and you can work with individual and they can help you figure out the frequency domain and the time domain, because you can really regulate your heart frequencies based on controlling your breath. And that is really an important thing to do when you are also utilizing the IMRS prime, because you want to be able to modulate your breath based on the frequency spectrum you're utilizing for the resonance, the coherence really to take effect. So I'm putting the sensor on right now because I am trying to get some data here.
Okay.
And
so like I said, don't be intimidated. We're all gonna learn this together. And I think this whole pandemic is changing everything, even the way people take care of their health. It's changing medicine, right? And if you can take control of your health and you can teach somebody else and you know your stuff, and you know, that is such a gift we can give to people in times like these. And this is not going to be the last pandemic, and this pandemic isn't going to be over anytime soon. I hate to say it, but
you're absolutely right.
I was right from the beginning.
You were. You told me in October you weren't going to come to Florida because of the coronavirus in China, and I thought you were crazy. I was like, I'm like, but you were proven right.
Unfortunately.
Yes. So you can track the great thing about the Cubios, and we'll do another one and show you how to extract the data, but you can do every single person. The control unit will actually save, I believe it's up to a certain amount or a certain amount of days, but with a USB, because it is people's personal information, you can just save the information on a USB and they are able to download it, and it's on the internet and you get a PDF. So the person can actually lay on the mat, download their own data and send it to someone, and they can evaluate your report and have a telehealth conference about it and give you suggestions on how you can better regulate your stress levels, your autonomic nervous system, your gut health, because you can utilize heart rate variability to even look at the foods you're eating and how your body is responding to those foods. Now, we all know that the Exagon Sense works with the whole body mats. So you either have your whole body mat or you would have the hybrid mat, because you can also use it on the hybrid mat. So there's another great possibility to be able to do the far infrared and the PEMF. And you also have to remember, we also have brainwave entrainment coming. We have light, chromotherapy, as well as binaural beats. All of that is also within biofeedback, also regulated with the class 2 designation. And you can utilize all of these therapies and evaluate the human body and how it is responding to all of this. Does the person like or respond to red light, or are they more purple? And all of this is able to be shown through monitoring heart rate variability levels. Maybe some people need to have the therapy separated, and some people can do it all at once. But you can actually take a look at all of that from the report. So what I'm going to do first here is show a manual operation with the Exagon Sense. So is that okay? So as we learned this afternoon, this is the home screen. So the two blocks you would need are the hybrid and the manual operation. So we'll start with the manual operation. So you would select your applicator. So it either have to be the far infrared or the whole body mat. And you can also see how intuitive the system is. Once I selected spot, the little box here on the right-hand side of the screen disappeared for the Exagon Sense because the system knows the Exagon Sense does not work with the spot. So I'll show that again. So if you see Exagon Sense, gone. So again, just like the IMRS, we choose our applicator. Continue. Now we choose our time. I always like 16 minutes. I'm not sure why, but I always like 16. And then you hit continue again. Then we choose our intensity. It's in the evening, so I would do more like 50 or 25. And then we would hit continue again. We would do our organ clock. Night is perfect. Continue. Now it will ask us, because we are enabled to do it, either inactive or active. Continue. And start. So I've got a 93, 94 heart rate. My SpO2 came in at 97. And as you can see, we now have a pause button here on the right-hand side. We also have information displayed on the screen, such as what the frequency spectrum was, or we call it the organ clock, the intensity level set originally, the applicator. We're actually using the far infrared, but we're using just the PEMF, because if we wanted to get the far infrared, we would then go through the hybrid, which I'll show you next. And then we chose the polarity in what direction. And now you can see here, there's a little designation that shows that it is working and it is going through it. So we have the heart rate. Up here is your heart rate graph. And that just shows the frequency and the range of your heart rate. So you can see here that it is beginning to get the first heart rate variability number. So it is detecting that. So it actually got the first reading. So it brought it down to heart rate at 78. And we can see across the bottom, this is the time duration. And it's tough to see probably, but there are 7 blocks, and those 7 blocks relate to sensitive, 10, 25, 50, 100, and so forth.
So all the intensities that are available.
Exactly. So that's where you would see the histogram is what it's called, and that's where you would see the variability. And so this is a really sensitive system. And so it is detecting the information, because it had to be like a very professional in order to be able to extract the data into the Kubio software. So they had to really design, and now you could see my HRV scores coming in.
Yeah.
Of 1. So it gave me an HRV of 1, and the intensity level was 25. So you can see that the intensity is 25, and that's a 1. So the next time it's going to look for information, it's either going to, well, obviously it can't go down, so it's either going to stay the same or it's going to go up. So if the HRV, for instance, went to 3, the system would then take the intensity level 25 and bump it from 25, 50, 100. So it would bump it up to 100 intensity. And all of this data that it is collecting, the IMRS Prime is not the diagnostic tool. What is the diagnostic tool is the Kubios HRV software. The IMRS Prime is doing the same information as the iMOR did, in a sense. It's just utilizing your biometrics. So now it moved the HRV to a 3. So it is just utilizing your biometrics in order to regulate various intensity levels. We also now do have
in a sense, Greg, sorry to interrupt you. I think one of the huge differences is that before with the IMRS, you had a reading, right? And you could see how your intensity changed, but you had nothing to compare to find out whether you're going to do better with intensity 100 or 50, you couldn't figure that out. You couldn't improve, right? So, but now you have real data to compare it to.
Exactly. And you're able to extrapolate all of that information out of the system. So as you can see, we were at the 3, and then we want to, because the first one was the first setting. So now we're at HRV1. So it went from HRV3 to HRV1, and you could see that it then moved down too. And now, let me show this. So you could see that it went from the 3, HRV3, my original intensity, and then it went down to HRV1. So it took the intensity from 25, or if I had 50, down to sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
So you could see that, well, if that's sensitive, that's 10, that's 25. So I had the original intensity set at 25, and it came in at a 3, HRV3 and 25. Then the intensity went, or the HRV went down to 1. So it brought the intensity down. Now you can see on the screen the HRV is 4. So it raised the intensity to 5, and you can see on the screen. So with this system, because of the quality of the algorithms that are utilized, it is much, much more sensitive than the iMore was. So you're going to get more data, and that data is going to be able to be delivering you a more dynamic session based on how your body is responding. And this is what you're seeing on the graph. Now, also, I'm doing it live right now with my finger, and it's difficult to host a presentation as well as do a great score here. But
so you mean to tell us you're not lying down?
Yeah.
That's why your heart rate is so high, right?
Exactly. So now it went to 1. So you can see it starts to begin to change the intensity again. So it went back down to sensitive. So in reality, this is a perfect evening session. And this is really exactly when I would be doing my whole body mat, because you do not, well, I shouldn't say you do not want, I do not want, and most people want lower intensities in the evening. And so with the lower intensities, you could see how, because when you set the first intensity, that will be the base that where it moves up and down from. So you would utilize lower intensities in the evening, because I'm one of those people where if I use higher intensities, it stimulates me. The lower intensities seem to help calm my body and prepare it for rest. And yes, you are 100% right, Karen. The best results are when you're hydrated. And that's why I like to do it around 7:30, 4 o'clock, because also I've just finished the shower. So your skin is also hydrated, and it really helps to facilitate the residence through your body. But you absolutely right. With every time you talk about PEMF, you should always talk about hydration and water.
Excellent point. Yeah.
So we also have a pause button now. So say that you wanted to pause your session, but you didn't want to leave your graph, or maybe you are doing a telehealth appointment and the person has to go use the restroom, or their door, someone comes to their door. You're able to pause it, and then you're able to resume and pick it right up from where you had left off.
Which brings me to a question that I'm sure everybody will be interested in. When you pause it, how long does it maintain before it shuts off?
That, well, the actually, I mean, I will have to ask Wolfgang on that, but I'm assuming from just utilizing it, it would be indefinitely, because this is a computer system. So it's just like if you open up a Word document and you begin typing and then you walk away, of course your screensaver will go on, but your system will still have that information.
Yes.
And so it will stay on there indefinitely, and the system will still show that it is trying to read.
Perfect. Okay.
Now let me show I'm going to do one quick through the hybrid, just so you could see the hybrid. So those are all the manual operations utilizing just PEMF. So now say you want to do PEMF and far infrared. So you would go to the hybrid, select the applicator, which would only be one choice, but you could see that if you go and scroll through, because I have the spot plugged in, the other options gray out because you can't utilize those. Then you just hit continue, 16 minutes, intensity we'll do 10, Oregon clock, Exagon sense, active, continue, set the temperature, continue, start. And then what you'll have one extra line item here, which is the far infrared temperature. And then everything else is the same. So we can, I'm going to stop the video here. And if we want to open it up for question and answering, those were basically the two things I wanted to show: how easy it is to use the Exagon Sense. And it can be, you can dive into all of your biometrics, or you can just take a quick look at the easy graph.
Perfect. That is so exciting. Question: can we get a copy of the FDA approval of the sensor?
Yes, they always put that stuff up on the registration, just where on our certificates and whatnot. So it's all public information, because anytime you are an importer of a medical equipment, you has to go through customs, has to go through the FDA, and that is what they evaluate it against, is how it is regulated and registered with the FDA, which is all public information. And we also make it available on our website. And I know as it goes through, they'll be updating that. But like we had said before, they're very busy right now in Europe, given the circumstances.
Okay, next question was, and there was one before. Does the HRV generally change with the far infrared?
Yes. Now, I have not utilized it really, that comparison where I do one and I do another. But you can definitely see the far infrared with the PEMF triggering the homeostatic, basically the sensors in your body, and it is causing your body to respond. And if your autonomic nervous system is functioning at optimal levels, you will see more variability with it. Or if you are having different issues, you can utilize the far infrared as a stimulus to trigger various things. And those are topics that we can hold with the biofeedback.
Yeah, you could also, I think what I would do once I have mine, just for my own, I would, let's say, use it one morning, you know, the sense, and just the PEMF, and download that data. And then the next morning, I would use, like around the same time, I would use PEMF and far infrared, and then upload the data. So then you can compare it, right?
Exactly. And that is really a good point, Ali, because what we're really looking to do is move baselines. We're looking to improve the optimal health of the body. And so we're looking to improve our autonomic nervous system's functioning over time. And that is utilizing, and of course, our bodies are changing over time, or based on the situation. You know, 4 months ago, we probably weren't as stressed as we all are now.
Yeah.
And so all of that changes.
Yeah. What is the long-term effect on our body when we use the Exagon Sense on a regular body? Well, that you have more balance, more homeostasis, better heart rate variability, better autonomic nervous system. Anything else, Greg?
No, and you have a respected report from one of the top heart rate variability analytics software to show people. This isn't just some gadget, as Wolfgang likes to say, that you downloaded on your app for free and you put your finger on your smartphone. This is exactly what researchers would use, clinicians would use. Maybe clinicians would use different HRV information, but this is exactly what researchers use at universities who are conducting studies.
So it's
So,
substantial, right?
yes, we will do a whole report based on the Cubios.
Mm-hmm. When will the marketing material be available that show all the different options of the different systems? Any minute, I hope, right?
Exactly. It's the same thing like we were saying before. The websites for the IMRS Prime are all being done. The webinars are now all being done. They have to be edited. They have to be uploaded into the back office. All the new IMRS Prime article codes and item codes need to be put in. All the new shipping regulations with the FDA and the customs need to be established. And we're doing it all during quarantine and the coronavirus. Yeah. Particularly where in Europe, where people would be able to drive from Switzerland to Germany to Austria, and now that can't happen. So it is all being done as fast as possible, and we're uploading everything as it goes.
Yeah, and there will be a newsletter coming out on Monday, I think.
And May 4th, I believe.
Yeah, and so there will be the specials in there, and hopefully the price lists will be in the back office. You just have to be a little bit patient with us for two reasons. Number one, this is such a substantial, powerful, beyond PMF system that nobody has. So, and then, as we were trying, or Wolfgang was trying to get it out, the coronavirus happened, right? And with the coronavirus or the pandemic, there have been a number of delays that nobody could foresee. But we can assure you the wait time, as you've just gotten a bit of a glimpse of the system tonight, right? The wait will be all worth your while, right?
It will be. You're going to be able to do so much with these systems, and you are really going to be able, if you're a healthcare professional, you're going to be really able to hone in your practice and be able to utilize this through a telehealth appointment. Somebody had a question with the iGuide in the Exagon Sense. And most of the people, the iGuide is a nonlinear assessment of just time and intensity variable settings based on safety and education. Safety meaning you don't want to do too much too fast and cause any type of Hertzheimer effect or healing effect. So it provides very conservative intensity and time settings, particularly for people who have various conditions in the iGuide. But when you use the Exagon Sense in conjunction with the iGuide gives you a great place to start your session at. What time and intensity do I originally start it with? Well, you can use the iGuide to start, and then the Exagon Sense will take it over and customize it based on your body's biometrics, the movement of your heart rate variability.
That's right. So you can basically start, if you do it manually and you don't use the iGuide, I think what most people do, they start in the morning with 25 or 50, or sometimes even 100, and the Sense will take over, right? The Exagon Sense will take over. What does it mean if the intensity stays the same throughout a session, meaning as in flatlining?
If you look in the iMore book with the IMRS, the HRV3, HRV4 was actually a range of numbers. So for instance, and this is just an example, HRV3 may have been 3 beats to 7 beats or 3 beats to 6 beats per minute. So if you always stayed within that 3 to 6 beat range or 3 to 5 beat range, you would have a straight line because it is always going to be at 3. You would have to move out of those ranges, and those ranges are listed in the operator's guide for the iMore. So there's 7 different ranges which move you up and down the different intensity levels. So you would need to, so if you had a flat line, number one, it could be a lack of variability in your HRV, or number two, it could be other factors as well, diet, exercise, stress levels. So when you're using the iMore, the older system, I always say you should just take a picture of the screen, and you are able to get information if you look at like 5 days of those screens. Okay, was it flatline on all 5 days? Well, then you may need to investigate a little bit further. But in general, it just means your heart rate variability stayed within that specific range and it did not move, because obviously the IMRS and the iMore do not have anywhere near the algorithms that the IMRS Prime and the Exagon Sense have.
Yeah, and sometimes I find with the old IMRS sensor, it's also when the inside of the sensor is full of skin oils, so it doesn't make a contact, or your skin is oily. And quite often I also say to people, you know, if you start at 25 or 50 intensity and you flatline, just go on it at 100 or 150 and see what happens with the old system, right? Okay. Have you found a finger that gives you the best reading?
I never had an issue with reading. You always would need to know, a lot of people always say you should rub your finger before you put the sensor on.
I never do. I just put it on, and I usually start with higher intensities anyway, right? So I don't think there is a best finger, but the common finger
is the index.
The index finger that people usually use. Can you share the information live or just send information to third parties? So,
I mean, you could, I'm not sure what you mean by live.
Well, I think that refers to Cubios. Like, can you, I'm not sure.
Yes, because the software, you would download the data into the software, which is, you would download onto your computer, and it prints out a PDF. So you can download it and immediately send it to a healthcare professional, a doctor, someone like Donna, who's a biofeedback specialist, and they're able to then evaluate it. They're also, you know, able to take a look at it. So yes, it is able to be done live, but you aren't able to, Cubios, you have to put the data into it. So Cubios can't read the data while you're on the IMRS, if that's what you mean by live. You do the IMRS session, you use the information from the histiogram, and then to really get heart rate variability information, you download it into the Cubios.
Yeah. Is it possible to use old IMRS to integrate with the new? No, nothing is interchangeable between the IMRS Prime, the old IMRS, or the Omnium. Okay, so I'm sorry, Nagaram or Dr. Reddy, I think you got to buy a new system. Okay, can we go over the Cubios report in detail in this or future webinars? Yeah, we will. You know, Greg will do a number of webinars on this Cubios. So don't be all stressed out, people. One step at a time, right?
Exactly. So we've already gone through our hour here as well, too.
Yeah, Beth, you would probably want to also control as much of the other influences on your body from day on day, like food, water, and exposure to toxins. Yeah, Beth, excellent point, right? How does the iGuide interact with the system? I think you answered that. Will those of us that ordered the pre-launch system get the trial system?
That is Wolfgang he asked everybody to trust him in December, and the launch was for the hybrid, but he had informed us that he is going to provide everybody the activation code to take their hybrid to the trial version. So everyone who did the pre-launch in December who trusted Wolfgang will get the trial version with the frequency generator.
Yes, and to use the trial system, you would need to do the certification, and that's why we're offering it free, because we want you to be able to utilize the trial version as well. And again, you know, we'll go over this trial in another webinar.
That's right. And the pre-launch, when he did it 24 days in a row with the Advent, was all based on, do you trust him to do the order? So a lot of people are like, oh, now I want it. Well, that wasn't part of the Advent promotion. It was all about who would take that leap with Wolfgang, and those who did were rewarded by these different upgrades and the pre-launch packages. I'm sure he'll have a promotion once it is all out there, but it will not be the Advent pre-launch promotion, which the individuals who took the plunge and ordered it sight unseen will get that additional benefit.
Yeah, then there was another interesting question from Karen. Hi, Karen. Are you still selling the IMA as the customer rented it? Now I'm guessing he will want to wait for the Prime. So I think the way it'll be done, you know, his rental deposit and, you know, can be applied to the IMA as Prime, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would not see why that would not be possible.
Yeah, I would do it here in Canada.
And that's what we'll do in the US as well. So at least in North America, if somebody has a rental out, they can apply their rental expense to the Prime.
Yeah. Yeah, why not, right?
Yeah.
So that's actually, I mean, we still have some IMASs left. So, you know, people can rent them.
We have no more rental program here in the US.
Yeah, we still, I think we will do, you know, just approach us in Canada if you're from Canada. Maybe you have someone who wants to rent an IMAS and try out PEMF to decide if they want to buy the Prime. I think in Canada we can still do that for a few people. Next question.
I would say we could take it here in the US on a case-by-case basis as well. Yeah. We may have a couple returns or demos or something, but it's a case-by-case basis. And no, there is no rental program.
Exactly. Next question. Does the SpO2 show a signal strength in case you are working with someone with peripheral vascular disease? I can't answer that.
At this time, it shows the blood oxygenation level or saturation level. It does not provide at this time any more details. These are all things that could be suggestions and that can come with future firmware upgrades, because all of it is option, like all of it is possible. It is just like remember, a programmer has to program all of this. And right now we're trying to get what our core is all done. The website's up, our marketing material up, the price sheets up, before we start, you know, really honing in on various features and functions.
Yeah, is the pre-launch still available? No, that went for a whole month before Christmas. So, but I mean, there will always be specials with the IMAS Prime as well.
Yes, there's always going to be, I'm sure Wolfgang has some big promotion in May that he will announce to us for the first introduction of the units here. So there'll always be something, but it's not going to be the pre-launch.
No, that was the best ever. Is it possible to change from MDM program to the 7CR? So if you are in the MDM and in the 7CR, you can sell the IMAS Prime in either marketing program. I think everybody got that. And if you are only in the 7CR, you cannot sell the Prime in the MDM. And if you are only in the MDM, you can't sell it in the 7CR. Correct, Greg?
That is correct. The IMRS Prime and the Omnium are in the 7CR. And if you're in the MDM, you can actually do the IMRS Prime, but the Omnium is not in the MDM.
Right. Okay.
And that is exactly right, Dr. Reddy. It's affected by lung disease and peripheral vascular disease. So even just getting that percentage during your PMF is an indicator of your overall health. If your scores keep coming, or your percentages keep coming in lower than the 95 to 100, then it's a sign that something could be an issue and you should probably take it to the next step.
Yeah, and a lot of people, because oxygen depletion is also part of the coronavirus. So that's why a lot of the oxygen meters, those that you buy in the drugstore, those simple ones that you put on your finger. So you can't improve your oxygen saturation in the body by using one, but you can measure. And a lot of people bought them, right, to measure their oxygen saturation.
That's where the deep breathing exercises come in and the biofeedback to help your body bring in the oxygen. A lot of people have irregular breathing and it affects all of the frequencies, the information within inside of the body. But it looks like we've got our questions. We're about 3 minutes over here.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure our recording is within the hour so we're able to post them. They started putting some of the recordings in the back office. So feel free to take a look at them and have a wonderful evening.
Okay, bye everybody. See you next Saturday, 7 p.m. sharp as usual.